Speaker this morning is Jeff Hatling. He's Director of Community Development for the town. Community Development, his department consists of really three divisions: planning, building inspections, and zoning enforcement. So some of you may have had the chance to interact with one of those three divisions at some point in time. Jeff's been with the town for about 21 years, probably a little over 21 years now. And I think probably he's been there the longest of any department head that we still have with the town. And he has been involved in, probably you saw the budget presentation last week, $2.9 billion in tax base. And he's been largely involved with probably half of that since his time as Community Development Director. So with that, I'll have Jeff come up.
I was shutting my computer off about 6:30 last night. I thought I'd better look at my calendar for tomorrow. And all of a sudden I saw Rotary at 7. I don't mind missing Rotary, but Curtis is here, so that's a bad one. The worst is other department heads that give me some grief. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I looked at my computer last night on the way out. Like Curtis talked about, you know, our tax base. I think when I got here, it was less than $1 billion. I remember that was like a big deal. And really the growth of Kernersville is interesting. A developer once told me, I don't have a glamorous job, I just follow sewer around. And that's the way it is. And in Kernersville, fortunately, many years ago, we had a strategic sewer investment plan, we still do. That strategic sewer investment plan has opened up almost all the areas we're seeing growth in right now. Back early 2000, we opened up over 4,000 acres with several projects. One of the major projects right now that's very active is the Triad Business Park. The Triad Business Park, in the news right now, we call it Project Triad. It's a 1 million square foot fulfillment center. On our drawings in the office is Amazon. It's not official yet, but let's have their signage wrong. It was interesting. I was telling this earlier to another meeting. The Business Journal guy came in because Salmon announced they're also doing a 350,000 square foot spec building in Triad Business Park. And so the Business Journal guy comes in to see the 350,000 square foot project, to do a little article on it. And the front person comes back, the front permit officer comes back to me and says, reporters out here wants to see that Salmon drawing. I said, well, it's public record, go ahead. So I'm thinking he got news of the Amazon building, so he goes back there and all of a sudden there's no 350,000 square foot building, there's a 1 million one. So he broke that story on Amazon just by chance. The other projects in Triad Business Park, Old Dominion has just purchased 25 acres for a new facility. Another company, a trucking company, has bought 30 acres next to it. You know, with FedEx Ground, with Amazon, there's 2 other trucking firms, and just that logistic aspect is huge. And we anticipated Triad Business Park being a logistics center due to the fact of the Macy Grove interchange on Business 40 and the larger tracts of land. And so that park is getting close to being filled. We have another 40-acre site left in there, and we're working with some of the adjacent properties and potential other developments. So Triad Business Park has been very successful in growing a nice tax base for Kernersville. Because one of the Kernersville Development Plan goals is a diverse economic base, and that economic base, of course, along with that logistics of the Triad Business Park, the medical business park area, which also opened up by strategic sewer investments, is going quite well. We're finally seeing now with the hospital being there for, I don't know how many years? 7? Wow, it seems longer. But you're seeing now that the hospital is successful. We're starting to see the doctors have moved over doing the clinical work. You're seeing them more secure right now. We're seeing a lot of interest now in new office construction. So, I mean, I haven't seen this much interest in office construction ever. I mean, we're just seeing that spin-off with doctors now comfortable with their practices here, spinning off medical offices. And the medical, the Kernersville Medical Parkway is the primary corridor. I think we're going to see a lot of office construction. We're working on another sewer project with pulp companies to bring sewer in to the The first part of the Kernersville Medical Parkway from 66 over to Brookford does not have sewer right now, and we're working on a sewer project to extend, and we're coordinating that with several medical office buildings. Along with there's some older parks on Stratford Center. Stratford Center has been there forever, J.C. Fall property. Anybody interested in good business park property, that's gonna go up on auction at the end of the month, and so hopefully we're gonna see some more interest. Very nice center, nice neighbors. Jim, I think Jim was here somewhere. He must have left. But we have smaller business parks. And we're really starting to we're also now focusing on trying to find, other business park opportunities. The projects we did early in 2000 were the kind of cherry picked some of the best sewer basins to bring sewer in. So they weren't easy projects, but we could take a lot of, there's Jim, he's hiding behind the post over there. So we're still looking at extending sewer into areas, and the way it works is we can extend sewer. It's run by City County Utility Commission. It's up to the communities to run sewer into new areas. And what we try to do is run sewer to areas where people will then annex into the community in exchange with development agreements. And so we're looking at some other projects to extend for some additional business park areas. With that Kernersville Development Plan goal of diverse economic base, of course that creates jobs. You hear a lot of, hear in the paper a lot about jobs. Unfortunately, Kernersville has always had a good job growth. It's kind of a side product of trying to build up a strong tax base, and jobs have been strong. With jobs, of course, comes housing, and then housing comes commercial. And so we're seeing a strong housing market, and we're seeing commercial follow. Now the commercial industry, as you know, online merchandise, the whole commercial industry has really drastically changed. I could give a whole presentation on that, but basically what you're seeing across America, and Kernersville is a great example. South Main Street is a synergy of commercial, and that's where everybody has to go and needs to be, because that's how you're going to survive. Because there's less of it, so you're going to congregate. So South Main Street will be maintained as a very vibrant commercial corridor. The Big Mill Farm interchange will go between Kohl's and Lowe's, new interchange there over Hopkins Road, greatly decreased the traffic there. So we're gonna have a very healthy corridor there. Aldi's, where Aldi's is, an old shopping center. A lot of people complain about the parking lot deterioration. Someday that will turn around because South Main Street has that synergy. Also with the jobs, interesting facts on jobs, we do an annual report on growth. And one of the things we look at is the employee residential population ratio. I may have talked about this in the past. So the employee ratio to people. So in Kernersville, we have 0.75 jobs per person. Okay, Greensboro has 0.74 jobs per person. Okay, High Point has 0.68, and Winston has 0.67. So Kernersville has this very strong jobs per person ratio. And that's basically based upon our land use plan or economic development plan of having that strong job base. And so we have that strong employment base, which creates a very healthy economy locally. Residentially, after, of course, the recession, everything shut down. We're seeing our numbers go back up, some pre-recession numbers. Last year, like in single-family residential, we had 130 new single-family residential, detached, attached. We only had about 30 attached, so we had around 150 new housing units. Those counts are going to go up to about 300 plus per year. So right now we're just starting to see infrastructure going in for a lot of housing projects. So we're going to see that 100 to 200, 300, probably up to 400 housing units a year. And two of the major projects, Cales Creek and Weldon down on 66, Old Salem Road, both those projects in about 2 years, you're really going to see the framework of what those projects really are. They're having nice absorption of housing right now, but you have to get some cash flow to start your major infrastructure, your primary areas. And so the Cales Creek, the intersection of Teague and Ogden is going to be the kind of the center of that project. Weldon, their main entrance is going to be off Old Salem Road. So next year or two, those projects, you're really going to start seeing what those are all about. Both of them are large plant communities of over 3,000 to 4,000 housing units between the two of them. And they'll be very dynamic, I think, very sustainable residential projects for Kernersville. Because the available lots right now, we have over 4,800 lots or units available out there, and about 400 with infrastructure. So we have a lot of room for absorption, and primarily there's two large projects. Apartments, you know, people love apartments. If you have to live in one, you hate apartments if you don't. But apartments are a critical aspect of economic development because you have to have housing, transitional housing, and also the demographics have drastically changed. People are delaying marriage, younger people, they're living in apartments longer. You got empty nesters moving into apartments. We have two projects right now that be single-family residential detached houses for rent, $1,700 a month rent. I mean, how many people in here want to pay $1,700 to rent a house? But there's a demand for it. I mean, there's just the changing demographics in the housing market. You know, there's a 7-year period where we didn't have any apartment growth, and so we've seen quite a bit of apartment growth. We're going to see additional apartments just to fulfill that rental aspect, because not only that demographic change, but also with the job growth, you're just going to see that demand for rental, especially with a lot of people move to an area and transition rent and then go into ownership. So basically our three segments of our economy in Kernersville, our industrial, our medical, our commercial, along with fourth being residential, are all going strong. We have some good planned developments out there. We're continuing to look at other opportunities for diversifying our economic base and our tax base. And then I'll just close on some road updates. The Beltway, of course, is under construction, basically from 52 all the way down to 311. I'm sure Pat's been here talking about that. And the interesting thing about the Beltway, it's causing Business 40 and I-40 both being planned right now for 6-lane expansions. Because from the Beltway to I-40 to Greensboro, those are 4-lane sections. Both of them we're working now on 6-lane sections on both of those. So that's just amazing. When I got here 21 years ago, I-40 between Winston and Kernersville, you hardly saw a car. Now that the traffic on that is growing and tremendous. Along with that spin-off, the 6-lane section, we're working now on a Macy Grove intersection on I-40. I never really thought that would be a legitimate project, but our economic growth and High Point is also growing off Sandy Ridge to the east, and so we're working on an interchange there. It will greatly help 66, because 66 has limited capacity. It's a 5-lane cross section now, but it's a major north-south route, and anything we can do to take traffic off that 66 is going to help. All our traffic studies show 66 being very congested in the future, and so all these other projects, the Macy Grove interchange, another project is Shields Road. It's going to be extended over to Macy Grove, so there's a lot of projects in that southern area that need to be done. Fortunately, we have the plans in place, a lot of right-of-way in place, and so as the growth takes place, we can expand our road network. Just like the road network, we're expanding with Big Mill Farm, Hopkins Road, Old Winston Road, South Main Street projects right now. Those have been on the books for over 40 years. So I think when growth comes, it takes place. So we're very fortunate that as we do our land use planning, our transportation plans are also being implemented to address the traffic. Last time I spoke, we talked about some transportation planning activities and future transportation issues and opportunities. And one of the things, just briefly on that study, traffic congestion, what used to be an issue, really was a talking point 20 years ago. I didn't really believe there was a traffic problem in Kernersville. It was just that we never had traffic congestion before. But we had a lot of intersection we needed improvements on, so we had a road bond. We took care of a lot of intersections. I made a lot of improvements. But we're going to see a new demand in the future for other road improvements, because right now, as we know, downtown has issues. We need to come up with some solutions. I talked about NC 66, basically from 311 to Walkertown. NC 66 is going to be a major congestion issue. And the area south of I-40 where the Weldon, Cales Creek projects are, there's gonna be some major road improvements needed. Cales Creek, they pay a road fee. We're raising several $1 million for the Cales Creek development. So we have some plans in place and funding, so there's a lot of transportation, traffic issues to address. And of course, transportation is also sidewalks and greenways. And I think we're gonna get our first greenway here shortly, after many years. And there's some great greenway opportunities out there. And of course, continuation of sidewalk expansion and coordinating with Park for mass transit. Like FedEx Ground and the Amazon facility, you're going to have mass transit to serve that workforce out there. And I think you'll see Park slowly filling in that role. The town is participating with Park right now, providing additional bus service to the VA is one example of mass transit coming through Kernersville. So that's just kind of a brief summary of growth taking place and activities. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Jeff, the Big Mill Farm project,
Uh-huh.
now when it hits Harmon Mill Road there, what's gonna happen on the other side, opposite side from those? Is that gonna continue on over to 66?
At Tally's Crossing?
No,
Oh. Oh, I'm sorry.
At Lowe's.
Okay, yeah, so
Go
it's,
straight across.
the question is, you're at South Main Street intersection with Harmon Creek where Lowe's is. And so if you come out of Lowe's, you're going back on South Main Street, straight across the road, there's the Triad Baptist Church. We have right-of-way from South Main Street all the way over to Wicker Road.
Okay.
So the right-of-way is in place, and that will be constructed when Maston Drive, South Main Street area becomes too congested. So that's a major, we have all the right-of-way. So basically, that'll be a future improvement as the traffic changes.
What currently right now, T Lane, Ogdensville Road, Taylor Street area and stuff on that area is and also Ogdensville Road down all the way to Highway 66 is county and stuff. What's the city's plans about that? Are they going to look at increasing the tax base and going into annexing that area and stuff right now? Currently, there's not sewer on Ogdensville Road or anything like that. It's all separate.
Yeah, so the question was Ogden School Road, Teague Lane. Caleb's Creek is about 900 acre project, and Weldon is about 400 some acres up just north of Ogden. The way that sewer works out there is pretty much Caleb Creek has most of that territory. Ogden is another sewer basin over. The roads out there, primarily they're all NCDOT roads. Caleb's Creek will be responsible to upgrade Teague lanes, sections of Ogden, and we have a road development fee that will address intersections like Teague and Old Salem will need improvement some days, probably a roundabout there. And so through the funding and coordination with the state, we're working on those road improvements.
Next one about that, right now, currently Teague Lane, not Teague Lane, Ogdensville Road, that's the cut through between Teague Lane and 66. What's the projected traffic pattern going to be with that?
Yeah.
Right now, because be honest about it and stuff, along those lines, it's 35 miles an hour going through Ogdensville Road and stuff, but there's nothing that's stopping people from doing 55 on that road.
Yeah, Ogden School Road, to paint a bigger picture, Glen High, the intersection of Glen High and Union Cross is planned to be continued through Caleb's Creek. Caleb's Creek is building that section, Ogden School Road section. Weldon is building a section from Bunker Hill. So Bunker Hill and Glen High will connect, relieving traffic off Ogden. That's a long range, but yeah, that's how you'll relieve traffic off Ogden. The magical hour, thank you.